Hello, everyone. Welcome to this monthly appointment of the DSSC Insights series, the monthly webinar series from the Data Spaces Support Center. While we wait for some of you to join, we are happy to unveil this webinar's program, which will be entirely dedicated to the Data Space Symposium, Data Space Support Center upcoming event, which is the Data Space Symposium 2025. Now, we will, before going into details of the event, let me introduce today's speakers. So for today, we will have an introduction from Gianfranco Cecconi, the Executive Director of the Data Spaces Support Center. Then we will have a further deep dive from the leader of the Data Spaces Business Alliance, which are co-organizer of the event. We will have Ana Garcia, Secretary General from the Big Data Value Association, Chandra Chalagonda, Chief Executive Officer of the Fireware Foundation, Lars Nagel, Chief Executive Officer of the International Data Spaces Association, and then Ulrich Ahle, Chief Executive Officer of the Gaia X Association for Data and Cloud. We will then wrap up the webinar with a Q&A. Just as a reminder, you can ask questions throughout the webinar directly in the chat. We will do our best to answer all the questions, and anything that is left unanswered will be dealt with at the very end of the webinar, so stick around. So just a few housekeeping items. This webinar is recorded. You can watch this recording of this webinar and all the previous webinars on our YouTube channel. You can scan the QR code on the slides to access the YouTube channel. Then don't forget if you want to stay up to date with everything that happens in the Data Space Support Center community, please don't forget to subscribe to the DSSC newsletter. You can do so by clicking on the link, or you can scan again the QR code, and then that's the best way to really keep up to speed with everything that we do. Now, a little bit more in details for the event, which is not to be missed and will be the focus of today's webinar. So the Data Space Symposium, as you all know, will take place in Warsaw on the 11th and 12th of March at the Hilton Hotel. It is the world's leading event on data spaces. We are welcoming over 800 data sharing experts at the Hilton Hotel. We will have speeches, workshop on all the major ecosystem related to data sharing, from health to Green Deal, smart cities, AI. We will have a very rich presence from policymakers from Europe and beyond. And we also have a rich expo area for some slots, and some slots for you to take part in this expo area are still available. So as you have a QR code on this slide, and this is the program for the event, feel free to scan it and explore everything that the event has to offer. A lot of speakers have already been confirmed, but more will be announced soon. So please feel free to deep dive into the event website. We would like to share a special thanks, first of all, to our partners who will be at the event with us, who believed in the event, and they will be there with not with dedicated speeches, but also with the exhibition area. So thanks again for supporting us. We would also like to thank our Polish partner, which is for which we are partnering to organize this event in the context of the Polish ICT Week, which will take place at the Hilton Hotel throughout the second week of March. So thanks again for all of our partners and our Polish partners, for which we're organizing this week, supported by the Polish presidency of the Council. Now, if you want to become a partner, the good news is that there is some slots for you. We will be very welcome we will welcome you to take part in the event, and we have a lot to offer to you. We can have you can have still a small program integration in the event if under the approval of the program committee. We can offer free event tickets, free evening gala tickets. We can offer booth at the exhibition. There's also free workshop rooms and much more. how to become a partner. Again, a lot of QR code, but you can scan this QR code and you can ask in the chat more information. We will be happy to assist you and provide with all the help you need. Last but not least, we are really looking forward to welcome all the data space experts in Warsaw. Don't forget to secure your tickets and to check the program event, to check the event program. Again, not a QR code. Feel free to scan it, and we will really welcome to have it there. Now, it was a long speech. I hope it was a little bit of a tease for the great event that we're going to have in Warsaw. So I'm happy to give the floor to a moderator for the day, which is Gianfranco Cecconi. Gianfranco, here is the floor to you. Now, I will stop sharing for a second, and then
Thanks, Anna. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. Anna introduced me. My name is Gianfranco. I have the pleasure of leading the Data Space Support Center as its Executive Director. I work alongside Project Coordinator, Professor Boris Otto. I also serve as Chief Solution Officer at the International Data Spaces Association, one of the members of the DSSC, a non-profit industry initiative dedicated to advancing data space practices and technology, and the creators of the Data Space Protocol. Once again, it's the time of year when the Data Spaces Support Center, along with the entire Data Spaces community supported by the European Commission, comes together to reflect on our progress and set the course for the future. Our annual event, the Data Space Symposium, together with our partners, is the perfect opportunity to do just that. This year, we once again organized this event in collaboration with our 4 key industry initiatives, our close partners and fellow members of the DSSC, the Big Data Value Association, Fiber Foundation, GaiaX, and the International Data Spaces Association. Before introducing my 4 colleagues, it's important for me to take a few minutes to share why this event is so relevant for us at the DSSC and what exciting opportunities await you in Warsaw on March 11th and 12th, less than 3 weeks from now. So get your ticket before it's too late. Our mission as DSSC has remained the same since we launched about 2.5 years ago. What has changed is probably the trends that have been shaping the conversation. Whether generative AI is what gets you excited today, or the latest advances in quantum computing, like the Majorana chip, all those fantastic algorithms, all that computer power, to be useful to something, they need to be applied to the real world that we live in. And what best represents the real world? Guess it's data. It's data that was used to train your large language model, the vast amount of data captured from experiments at the Large Hadron Collider, the data that describes the efficiency or the weakness of an industrial process in a factory, the everyday data that describes people, organizations, places, data that unfortunately often sits unused, tucked away in virtual drawers, let's say, in an office or in a government building. Why unused? Because we are too afraid that the data will be misused, used for a different purpose than intended by the wrong people without our consent, or even distorted, creating this information. Well, over a decade ago, business and civil society recognized that this was neither acceptable nor sustainable. We believe that all data needs unleashing, as much as for the benefit of society and the development of the economy. And we can preserve the rights of people and of the organizations over the data. Privacy, confidentiality, intellectual property, and everything else. This is where the open data movement began then, 10 years ago, possibly even earlier than that, and later evolved in the broader push for data sharing of data that is not open, and ultimately the development of data spaces today. So while the European Commission's Data Space Support Center is just over 2.5 years old, as I said, the work behind the Data Space Support Center spans more than a decade. The upcoming event in Warsaw, besides the many other speeches and presentations by the community of data space operators, service providers, and users, the DSSC will unveil the latest updates to 2 of our most visible initiatives, continuing that long journey. Yeah, Anna, please go to the next slide. The first, for the ones of us who have been following us for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but it's useful to remind us. The first is the so-called blueprint. Now in its version 2 in Warsaw, it's a collection of functional specifications for designing data spaces. which we refer to as building blocks. By combining these blocks in the right way, any effective data space can be created and implemented. This is our most refined version of the blueprint to date, and it now complements three key efforts on the side, driving the development of practices and technologies. The regulatory effort of the European Commission, so that's substantial. The industry associations, developing practices and technologies even before the DSSC was created and beyond Europe, and the efforts for cohesion and standardization by the standards development organizations like ISO or SEMI-CERLEC. And just in case you did not know, the blueprint is a collaborative effort. You help shape it by contributing your work to the DSSC's working groups or those of our member organizations who then feed into our work. It's a large, significant effort. The second of those new outputs, new updated versions of our work, and Anna, if you can go to the next slide, is what we call the toolbox. Many of you here in this audience, I'm sure, you don't just need to understand what data spaces are, you need to implement them, you need to actually build and set them up. The toolbox is a curated catalog of implementations of those building blocks that are described functionally in the blueprint that I described earlier. The updated toolbox you will see in Warsaw has undergone a major overhaul, making it more user-friendly and expanding its scope beyond just technology implementations. Data spaces are not just technology. We will soon be opening the toolbox, in fact, to the implementations of the business and organizational building blocks of the blueprint too. You may be wondering, so what does the implementation of a business building block look like? For example, it's reusable contract terms and templates that can be applied to your data space. So just as the blueprint is shaped by the community, the toolbox is also crowdsourced from your submissions. If you are a software developer, if you are an advocate for a solution or another, or just its biggest fun, well, take the time to check if it was already submitted and is offered in the catalog. And if it is not, submit it yourself. And another last slide for me, please. You may be wondering, okay, so what is next for the support center in the coming year and after this event? We will talk about it together when we are there, but the short version is this one, perhaps. The toolbox takes us very, very close to the point where the data spaces are designed and built. We believe that as DSSC, we can get even closer to that. After Warsaw, the team will regroup to explore how we can bring our work to where it's most needed, expanding beyond the channels we've been using so far, including our support effort. We've been preparing for this for a while, and we call the process internally the North Star. And for the DSSC, the North Star is you, is the data spaces operating in Europe, your needs and your ambitions. Whether you were started with the support of the European Commission funding or you are funding your ways as a private initiative, the goal is to reach a level of maturity across practices, regulations, and technology that will allow us to speak of a European single market for data just as comfortably as we speak of a European single market. In the same way, we want to ensure that the free movement of data and digital services, removing technical, legal, and bureaucratic barriers, and allowing citizens to trade digital assets like data and do business freely. So please join us in Warsaw, March 11 and 12th, together with our partners, to celebrate our progress, but more importantly, to continue the work ahead. I will stick around for the rest of the webinar, and I will check also for your feedback in chat while our colleagues continue the presentations. And for now, please welcome the first of our Data Space Business Alliance partners, Ulrich Halle, CEO of GaiaX. Ulrich, please take it away.
Yeah, Gianfranco, thank you very much, and very warm welcome and a good afternoon or good morning, good evening, depending on where you are dialing in from the world. As Gianfranco mentioned already, this Data Spaces Symposium is organized in partnership of the Data Spaces Support Center and the 4 partners of the Data Spaces Business Alliance. So these are the 4 partners which were introduced already before: GaiaX, Fiverr, the Big Data Value Association, and the International Data Spaces Association. And assuming that some of you have not been with us from the beginning of this journey, let me briefly introduce why we did this. And Anna, if you could go to the next page, please. This is a picture from September 23rd, 2021. So 3.5 years ago, time is really running, showing the signature of the Memorandum of Understanding to create the Data Spaces Business Alliance, with signed by the 4 presidents at that time. So from the very left, Reinhold Achatz. Then second from the left on the screen is Dario Avallone. Reinhold Achatz is president of the International Data Spaces Association. Dario Avallone, chairman of the board of directors of the 5R Foundation. Then Max Ahrens, at that time chairman of the board of the Gaia X AISPL. And on the very right, Thomas Hahn, still the president of the Big Data Value Association. So these are our 4 presidents of the Data Spaces Business Alliance. And we joined forces with the ambition to join forces for the creation of interoperable data spaces based on a federated cloud infrastructure, and to come up with one single architecture for it with reusable components in there. Based on this, to be able to speak with one voice to the market, independently who of the 4 organizations is talking. And we are combining in these 4 organizations, which are all member-driven and which all have a hub organization. We are combining more than 100 hubs. 3 organizations call them hubs, and 1 organization calls them iSpaces. But content-wise, all are doing the same, creating local ecosystems, gathering the demand from their local ecosystem, from their members, bringing it to the global team, working together on solutions, and then disseminating back the results to help the end users in data-driven challenges. And all 4 are member-driven organizations, and we are combining more than 1,000 members, not only from Europe, but finally from around the world. And just 1 week after, so that was the 23rd of September, 1 week after, the CEOs met, and we hopefully can see a picture on the next page from this. So that was a workshop where Ana Garcia, Lars Nagel, and at that time, Francesco Bonfiglio, he has been the CEO of Gaia X at that time. I was at that time CEO of 5R, so the 4 of us, we met in Brussels and worked on the operationalization of this memorandum of understanding, came up with the first 100-day plan. And one of these activities in the 100-day plan was to make the community aware of our alliance, to win additional partners. And I think just 6 weeks later, we already had a conference with more than 800 participants talking about the topic of data spaces, and announcing that we are planning to apply for a call of the European Commission to create something which was called the Data Spaces Support Center. And finally, we were joined by another 8 organizations. So the Data Spaces Support Center team, the consortium, consists now in total of 12 different partners. And the next picture is showing us the kickoff meeting we had with these 12 partners and their people together with the European Commission. So we had the kickoff in Brussels. You see the logo of the Data Spaces Support Center and the hashtag, and the 4 CEOs. You see Boris Otto in the center, directly next to him, Gianfranco, who at that time was also already a key person in organizing and setting up this team. And since then, and this is now nearly two and a half years ago, we are working closely together And after having created the first results, we organized a big event in Darmstadt 1 year ago. And Anna, why don't you talk a bit about this event? No, Lars. I think Lars was the idea to talk about it, yeah, because it was in Germany.
Absolutely. And well, that was really a great, inspiring event. You can see here that really a lot of people have gathered together. What you don't see is that there were a lot of more rooms where we had parallel sessions, side events. So these were 3 days full of insights on data spaces. And you can see the slogan of last year, so share data, unlock value, boost impact. And it was a kickstart, or like a vitalization of the whole community to really work on bringing data spaces to life in 2024. And well, I can tell you this year in the symposium, we will show you a lot of results, and a lot of great things have happened since then. And this could not be done with all the inspiring organizations, with all our members who work together, who co-create the necessary foundation for data space, concepts, governance schemes, frameworks, technology, service offerings. And well, we are happy to guide that community and also inspire you in Warsaw. Chandra, that's right. And it's good to see you first time on this official picture.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Lars. And good afternoon or good morning or good evening, wherever you're from, connecting. So as we were discussing that I'm a new kid on the block. So I took over role of CEO of Fiverr Foundation in October 2024. And I've been part of discussions on the DSSC and taking it, trying to collaborate and build a common vision and the shared vision, all of us together here to add more value to our partners and the users of the data spaces. Yeah, Anna, can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, so I think one of the important achievements what we actually have been doing during last years is to align, have a different workshops, not only between the CEOs and the presidents, but actually having going into the community, going into the technical team, gathering all of us together under one roof, representations, as you can see here, not only the CEOs here, but also the CTOs and also the community members representative, so that we understand what our community precisely want, what are their priorities, what are the hurdles, and coming under one roof in last month on 17th of January in Frankfurt, where we put all the things together, the feedback from the community, and we tried to arrange a workshop. We dived deep into the technology, architecture, and tried to build a common vision, shared vision, not only on the overall, but also give them as an assets to the community so that they can take it and use it further. And the idea was basically to create an end-to-end guidance here. So all the way from specifications to how probably it could be implemented, what are the different components and what are the standards which we have out there and how we can use them. Yeah, this could be the next slide. Yeah, I think this is done. Yeah. And I pass it over to my colleague Anna.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chandra, and so happy to have you also in this team. It's great. So now that you know or you have heard about the history and what we have been doing together. If you didn't know about DSBA, now let's go back to the topic of this webinar, that is this event. And this event is not about us, it's about you. So we really expect you all there. But we want to also show you how we are really collaborating together towards this event. And for that, let's go to our next slide. And I want to say this is an event where DSBA, DSSC, and all the partners of DSSC join forces with a lot of collaboration partners, with a lot of data spaces initiatives, with a lot of already running data spaces, those that are now in the journey, but also many solution providers, many potential users, industry and public sector that will benefit, and also citizens at the end of the day that will benefit from all of that. So this is again about you, but we want to a bit give you an idea of what are the main topics and how we really contribute to these topics all together. You probably noticed when we presented the event that we are talking about three major things: share data, unlock value, boost impact. This is critical. The 2025 it will be a critical year for data spaces. We really need to make sure that we show the value of data spaces. So let's start a bit with the shared data. What is really critical now, and where you will see a lot of talks and also sessions, in particular tech sessions related to this, is, okay, we need to make this happen. We need a common technical layer and global standards for both the centralized digital ecosystems and for the all aspects of data sharing. So we need control over data, and for that you will hear soon about the trust framework and the data space protocol and how important it is that these components become global standards. But of course, this is important that we have this common technical layer to share data with control, with the centralized power. However, we need to also unlock the value of all this. And here also in the event, we will touch on two different perspectives. First, all these new industries and existing industries that now are putting in the market software, services, components to make sure that data spaces are a reality. And that's a very important new business that is growing up. And also, we need to look at the different applications, data services, AI. So we will talk a lot about artificial intelligence and how different programs, activities that are going through, that are very relevant now at the European level in particular, will actually or are connecting with data spaces. So you will also have a lot of this in the program. In this case, more looking at different verticals and also particular sessions in related to AI or value creation. And then let's go to the last point that is really important for all of us. We need to create impact, right? And the impact for that, we want to accelerate deployment. This is a very important objective this year. We need to learn how to scale participation, which once we have a data space deployed, is a very important topic to address. And a very important topic you will see in the event. This is a global event. It's the first edition. We already had it in previous editions, but the first edition that brings participants from all over the world, and we will have very relevant discussions about data spaces worldwide. Additionally, you will have the possibility to access demos and learn more about existing reference implementations. And now, if we go to the next slide, very quickly, of course, we all the associations present today, DSSC and our collaboration partners contribute to all this, but very quickly that you know how the different associations are contributing. As I'm now speaking, I will very quickly introduce a BDBA that you see on top on the value creation part, whereas an association, we don't deliver specifications or software. However, we work in models, frameworks, and also best practices for AI and data science, everything related to data pipelines, aspects of trustworthiness, in particular AI trustworthiness and compliance by design, data privacy, aspects of experimentation and sandboxing, best practices and use cases, and AI data and knowledge management. And now I would like to give the floor to my colleague Ulrich, who's going to start now presenting from the bottom how First Gaia is contributing to this. Thank you.
Yeah, as the other partners of the DSBA, also we are contributing to the list of building blocks necessary to create data spaces. And one of the prerequisites to create trustful data spaces and to implement an automated compliance and an automated onboarding to data spaces is what is called the Trust Framework Protocol. And this is one of the main contributions Gaia-X is doing to the creation and operation of data spaces. And always to mention, trusted data spaces based on a federated cloud infrastructure. So a lot of the criteria which are within this trust framework are related to cloud service providers. It is not only related to the content of the data spaces, but also to the operation of the data spaces. This is the main contribution of Gaia-X, and in close collaboration with IDSA, Lars.
Yeah, thank you, Ulrich. So that is what we've come across in the last years, and especially when things became more mature and close to reality, that the collaboration between Gaia and IDSA is really perfectly complementary. When we talk about data spaces as ecosystem where trustworthy and sovereign data sharing, so self-determined data sharing happens, then we need that thorough ground and also the infrastructure where things run. Well, what we do as IDSA, we take care of the data and how to really make it flow or travel or being brought together with services or algorithms. So what I would like to draw here is the circle. So we need to start like, what is a data space and how does that look like? That is what IDSA is doing since 9 years now, the fundamental design characteristics of data spaces. So in the rulebook, from a conceptual perspective, the reference architecture model, how to functionally and technically build it. And then we have some components, and definitely the data space connector is in the very center. So we need to make sure that this is built according to the ideas, and therefore certification of components is also really important. So that something is compliant. And we still need to talk about what data spaces are, awareness creation. So we also started a professional qualification program. So you will find all of that in the symposium, which is the most realistic part is the data space protocol, because protocol clarifies how two parties interact with each other, right? So and therefore also when machines interact and want to share data, that needs to be organized. So the data space protocol is in the center. And how can you make sure that the components and the services that you build are compliant to all the concept that we do? So therefore we also do that compliance testing with a TCK. And you will witness in Warsaw a lot of solutions, a lot of offerings that are already implemented in concrete service offerings, so that you can, so to say, also use data spaces as a service. And I'm really looking forward to show all of that. And mostly it is companies all over the world that are already embracing it, and they will show clear demonstrators, implementations, components. And one partner in the DSBA who is building a lot of important components for data spaces, among that also data space connectors, is Fiverr Foundation, with a special flavor of their open source community. And that is what Chandra will let us know.
Yeah, thanks, Lars. And as Lars mentioned, that we have been using our existing the projects and assets what we have in Fiverr Foundation and under the community, and we are building and trying to kind of support our partners and everyone who is interested in data spaces or building data spaces with all the essential equipment, essential components. So building on Gaia-X and IDSS, the concept and semantics, we have the smart data models which we can be leveraged. It's important to have an ontology agreed between the data exchange parties in the data space. Then the software and services, we have the context broker, which is an IoT agents, connecting IoT agents, connecting system adapters, creating a standard open API where everyone can understand. Then we are also building a 5-way data space connector, which would be using the IDSS data space protocol and the Gaia Extras framework. And then the 5-ways business API ecosystem, which is a marketplace component, which would be there would be a data, and the data services will be hosted or listed there to be able to be purchased. Our services can be purchased very easily and with the standard globally approved protocols and standards there. So this is how we are aligning our assets also to all this among our 4 of us, so that everything is well aligned, and it's again, as I mentioned in before, it's providing an end-to-end a specification to the all the way up to the implementation and the proof of concept solution. Thank you. I think that's we can go next slide. Yeah, so here I think Anna will basically tell about, or Gianfranco will tell about the program with the Data Space Symposium 2025.
Thank you, Chandra. So if your head is not spinning already by all this content, I'll give you even more to try to help orient yourself. I will do it from the perspective of the visitor. So I will give you 4 possible ideas to navigate through all of this. Of course, the program is online. There will be a version downloadable that will help you prepare very, very soon. But I'll give you 4 perspectives that perhaps will help you decide where to go, what to prioritize first as you visit Warsaw. So the first aspect, perhaps the obvious one, maybe for some of you, maybe the business one. You may be interested in what data spaces mean for a specific sector or another. So you may, for example, go to the session dedicated to media. I actually worked in media before being a management consultant many years ago when I was in the UK. If I had the time to go around and in the audience, I would probably go there and try to see how media companies are preparing to use all of this data and visit the data spaces that we know acting in this sector, like the European TEMS, for example, the media data space. If you were more interested perhaps in how we make this work from a legal perspective, if you're an officer, if you're a civil servant, this year we have a massive presence of our colleagues from civil sector and policymaking, more than in the past, which surprised us in a way, and they have significant space. I cannot tell you what they're going to reveal, in particular for the Commission. Not that they have secrets, by the way, there are no secrets here, but there will be significant participation from European Union and worldwide civil servants and policymakers in several areas of the program, whether it is for say reconfirming the political support to standardization, it is a significant one, or to simply try to see how they can make all of those legal frameworks work across boundaries. Because again, if you're watching from Europe, perhaps you're taking for granted how coherent the system here is, but it's not easy to transfer data to Brazil or Japan, some of the countries that will be our guests at the symposium. Actually, Japan is an easy one because they have an agreement with Europe, but that's another story. If you are into design, then perhaps you should go to the Data Space Support Center sessions, because those assets I described earlier and many more will be presented there just to remind you how the whole set, the whole portfolio of methods and resources work together. I will personally actually be on stage for a small role play that we will, let's say, run for you, offer you, just to give you an idea of how those methods work in the real world once you need to design something to address a specific problem or use case. And finally, of course, if you're more on the technology side of things, you're a builder of data spaces, or you're an advisor from a business perspective, you may take the perspective of the capabilities, let's say, and there will be a few dedicated sessions, again, across the program that is more for the ones among us who write the software, who offer the services, host all of this stuff in the cloud. That also is an integral element that makes all of this possible, besides the designs and the policy making and the understanding of the business aspects and so on. So there's so much, probably is too much probably for one single person to understand all of this. And I guess why we are 5 here talking. Don't get scared though by that. It's just the way it is. Data spaces is a phenomenon, and data sharing is a complex beast. And you need to be able to master a bit of everything, or to have good friends. I believe this completes our side of today. I will check in the chat if you have questions for any of us, and perhaps I can inaugurate a conversation between the 5 just by asking something very, very simple. That is, all of you for organization have many years of history, right? So IDSA, I believe, did 9 years birthday last week or this week. I've been, by myself, I've been working in data sharing for 11 years almost. For someone may say, oh, 11 years and you haven't delivered anything yet? It feels sometimes like we're moving slow, right? Is it like that, or simply this stuff is complicated? Can I ask Anna, please, to tell me what's your perspective? Are we moving fast enough? Should we be faster? What's your feeling about this?
I think we need to move faster, Gianfranco. I think we have to move faster, and of course we can do only that together. I know to do it together is always, it seems that it's more difficult when we do it together, but definitely we need to move faster. And I think events like the Data Space Symposium are critical to have the relevant discussions to make that happen and accelerate this. And yeah, I think I answered your question. I won't elaborate more, but definitely speed is a must.
And misunderstanding around how to achieve that speed, I believe, sometimes is in seeing business and public separated. Chandra, if I can put you on the spot, Fireware Foundation started as a European Union project, right? And then now it has its own life for many years. Do you see this kind of dichotomy between civil service and government on one side and private sector on the other, or we need to take that kind of prejudice down?
Yeah, I think if you ask me directly question, I think there is, I think this needs to be blurred, and I think that I do agree that this needs to be taken down, because it is important. A government can initiate, especially many initiatives, but the sustainability of this whole initiative actually comes from the private sector and the adaptability. I'm not talking about the public services. The public services is a different activity, but if you take about the AI, if you take about the mobility, if you take about the tourism, all these sectors, a very little boost government can give at the initial state to start things and in the public good, for in respect to public good, but sustaining these whole initiatives, taking it forward is depending on the private sector. And that is what exactly what we have been doing in the Fireware, is that we have evolved as a from the European Union project with the funding, and our components have been taken forward by the community and the private sector with their funding and with their help at this stage. Definitely, we are getting all the help what we could get from the European Commission on this direction. But yes, it needs to be more on the private sector's hand. And unless the private sector takes it forward, of course, there are, again, the sector-specific and the domain-specific activities. So I think this needs to be also, I agree with the second point of yours.
Thank you, Chandra. And I mean, historically, I've always been repeating that I expect the best applications of data sharing from hybrid participants.
Yes.
Not just one industry on one side, and another industry on another side, and public there and private there. The most interesting stuff is coming when we actually take down this barrier and we start thinking of designing services together. And the kind of technology and practices we are developing, I don't think are specific to one sector or another, or to one nature of a body or participant or another. There's part of the power of working perhaps at a lower level than the actual specifics of one industry. Still checking in the chat for questions, guys, but my next one I would say is for Ulrich. The word trust, right? It's so abused and used to the point that sometimes we need to wonder what we really mean by that. I mean, Gaia today is mostly focusing its messaging around the trust framework that is needed, by data spaces and by other kinds of digital systems, right? Why have we started talking about trust only recently? Wasn't the problem always around from the start?
Yeah, it was there definitely always from the start, but you know, we are moving from what we did for the last, let's say, 2 decades, when a lot of us created digital platforms, knowing how much effort it is to connect participants to such platforms, be this participants provider of data or users of data, very often combined with manual efforts, yeah, to set up interfaces to check their eligibility for this. And our ambition, our common ambition with data spaces is not only to connect a few thousands with another few thousands, but to connect millions with millions. And for this, we need to be able to connect participants automatically to such a data space. And this requires simply trust. We need to be able to automatically identify a participant. And this participant can be a natural person, can be you, can be an IT system, can be a company, an organization, or it can be a single sensor in the future. And being able to automatically identify and automatically authorize a participant. And again, this participant can be a supplier of data or user of data. It is required to have trust, to have so-called credentials being used to identify a participant, to trustfully identify a participant. And let me compare it with our real world. Most of us, at least those who are traveling internationally, do have a passport. And we trust in this passport. If you enter another country where border control is required, in a lot of countries, you are able in the meantime to use your passport, which contains your credentials, for example, your fingerprint or your picture of your face, and to have this checked automatically by a machine. So you have a credential in your wallet, in your physical wallet, yeah, like let me get my one here, like this one. And we are simply transferring this to the digital world. In the digital world, we have digital credentials, which are part of our digital wallet. And setting this up and enabling data spaces to use these credentials, to check these credentials, that is the core of our activities within GaiaX.
Thanks, Ulrich. So robots with wallets in the future, in a way, to simplify the picture. And last but not least, Lars, first of all, happy birthday. Something I wanted to, not for you personally, for the association, of course. And you've been around 9 years. How has the world changed? And particularly considering the effort of IDSA on standardization over the last couple of years in particular, was it worth it?
It was absolutely worth it. And the good thing is now, turning 9, we finally see reality. So we are out of kindergarten, out of this trial and error phase, and we finally see spot some reality. And that is why we, while we've put standardization on, top priority on our agenda. So it has been written in our statutes already 9 years ago. So that was the intention, the objective when we've founded IDSA. We need global standards because, well, data sharing does not stop at borders. And, well, why has that been a topic already 9 years ago? Because already 9 years ago, it was clear that data will become the important asset of our future. It will define future value creation. Anna, you can explain about that. So all our economies and societies are and will be built on data sharing. We need to see data as an valuable and economic asset that serves business, but also societies as such. And there's no proper mechanism to deal with data as such. The internet is not built for that. So for sharing different kinds of data sets that have a value, where you want to, well, know what happens along an ecosystem of mostly unknown partners that all contribute to a value creation. And well, we have gone a long way, and now we've reached that point that we see the data spaces flourishing. We see these data spaces where value is created in domains first. Yes, that is what is happening, and there's so much more to do. So cross-domain data sharing, cross-border data sharing between countries, different economic regions, and that is what we show. And here I would like to stress the item. We need to know what is needed. And therefore, when you come to Warsaw, to our symposium, let us know what is important for you. What are the requirements for future data spaces? In the past, we have been like, we had a great idea and then we wanted to sell it to the world. Now we're in the phase, we need to listen more to the world. So technology is in place. So we have the concepts in place. We know how data spaces look like. Now we have to build them, and we have to build them according to users' requirements. And that is what I expect from Warsaw, that we bring all the enthusiasts there. We bring all the technology and service providers there, which build all the components. We need to know what is the next thing to build from a commercial perspective, commodity, services that you can use, and then we can derive what is needed for global standards so that there will be no barriers.
Thank you, Lars. I also expect a kind of a shift towards the users, not necessarily to abandon the makers, so-called, but rather to recover the relevance of how most organizations out there need to use and leverage this opportunity independently of how the techies among us, with no offense, I also started my career as a techie, is conceiving the solution to the problem. I always insisted that data sharing and data spaces are a culture change before a technology change. And that work is far from being finished, which means that you should come to Warsaw and give us a hand because we have not finished. You are the users, you are the makers, you are the policy makers, and the kind of integration of the work of all of us will make this the necessary success that we need, as I said at the beginning, for both the development of business and what civil society needs for sharing those kind of resources and knowledge. Unless there are any last questions from the chat or from our 4 partners, I believe we can wrap up today. Just quickly checking your faces quickly to see if you want to say any last thing. Otherwise, it's less than 3 weeks from now. The QR code is on screen. Get your ticket, plan your journey and your accommodation. Come to Warsaw. You cannot watch this online, remember. So please prepare your bags and see you there. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And for the DSSC Insight series, let's meet again next month.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See you in Warsaw.
Bye-bye.